While official data show that all of Latin America should be classified as an immensely rich region, in a radically opposite way, the living conditions of its inhabitants and socioeconomic data show a reality in which all poverty-related problems actively impact the majority of the population. Having as a quick diagnosis that, in the midst of an illogical reality, an immensely rich region, inexplicably, lives by its own will as a poor one. A meaningless duality that ends up being easy to understand if one takes into account that the official representatives of said popular will come to be its own political leaders. Since, through their work, they are capable of influencing and even defining the living conditions of all people. In this case, transforming a reality of abundance and wealth, to then translate it into poverty and misery. Political leaders who, although they are not capable of making wealth disappear from the region, they are capable of limiting it and distributing it among certain groups of people, according to their convenience and proximity. A task that, in one way or another, has been carried out uninterruptedly in Latin America since its republican origins. Given that, when briefly analyzing the different democracies of the region, it is possible to appreciate that the real work of politicians and bureaucrats has been almost exclusively to discuss and negotiate with their allies the campaigns of the leader who has more possibilities of assuring them the presidential chair. This, basically because within the structure of the state, these institutions are the ones in charge of controlling the main public contracts and therefore most of the state's money. A logic that in Latin America has no limits, since, in any country of the region, a public official must be, first of all, a fervent supporter and faithful disciple of any political leader that emerges with popular support. All this regardless of the line of thought that such political leader defends or the values he represents. This being the real reason why, so far, there are no definitive answers or effective solutions to all the problems related to poverty in the countries that make up Latin America. Demonstrating that, at the end of the day, there has never been a problem of poverty derived from the predominant development model, since in reality it has worked perfectly, achieving the enrichment of a minority at the expense of the generalized impoverishment of the immense majority. Undeniable proof of this is the small percentage of Latin Americans who manage to be admissible to U.S. immigration policy and obtain a visa legally. Ultimately demonstrating that, if only a small minority becomes admissible to the region, then it is possible to assume that the vast majority is inadmissible, both in reference to the United States and the rest of the world. An elementary and even generic conclusion that, at the same time, turns out to be very enlightening and explanatory of reality.